Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D. Well, we are approaching the holiday season, and that means it's one of my favorite times of the year. No, not about Christmas or about New Year's. It's the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival is coming up around the corner. It happens every middle of January, and I love this event. It's actually where I first found out about fly fishing in Alaska and hooked up with one of the show participants there and found out more about it and doing the remote adventures. It was fantastic. Well, let me not just take up all the time here. I'm going to bring back in Bo Beasley. You might remember him. He joined us a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Project Healing Waters, veteran stories in their own voices, but he also helps to put together, this is his brainchild, the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival. Bo, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Matty. I'm happy to be here.
This is a really fun event. How did you get started with this project a long time ago?
Well, it originally started as a nonprofit outreach in Waynesboro along the South River. And that's still part of our mission, is to help educate the public about some of the challenges to the South River and the fisheries in general around Virginia. And the idea was to be an economic boost. A lot of people don't know the very first Trout Unlimited chapter was actually born in Waynesboro on the South River. It's one of the first urban trout fisheries because it was so close to the city of Richmond. People could run out and go fish there. And it ran there for several years, and then it got so large. We started out in a series of tents. There were two people that were the force behind this, and that would be Dana Quillen and Lynn Poulin, who I have to say are two of the best leaders I've ever met. I had lunch with them recently, and I told them that they were such good leaders that I would follow them into a burning building. That's how good they are. They're just forward thinking, and they wanted to have something in their community that highlighted the fishery. And the South River had been damaged due to, DuPont
Right.
and chemicals in the river, and it being a super fun cleanup site. But now the river is back. It's doing very well. It's a great year-round fishery. The South River Fly Shop is there. Tommy Lawhorn and his crew, and I really am happy that the fly shop is there. But the festival came about because people wanted to have something new. We were at the forefront. You see the word fly fishing festival used quite a bit now all over the country, but we were the progenitors of that. We were at the cutting edge of that. And about 6 years into the festival, Lynn and Dana said, hey, we need to get involved. We need to get some of these Virginia wineries involved. And of course, my background, I'm a Fairfax County firefighter, a retired captain and paramedic. And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't going to work. Because all I could think of, because, to a carpenter, everything looks like a hammer and a nail, right? Well, being a firefighter, all I'm thinking is moving water and alcohol. No, nope, that's not going to happen. And Lynn and Dana said, no, you don't understand. We really need to make this happen. I said, okay. So we did. Huge success. We have never had an incident, ever. This will be our 24th year. We've never had an alcohol incident because the people that come to our event, they're not 19-year-old or 20-year-old college kids, no offense, who were trying to, see how much beer they can get. You come to the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival because you want an experience and you want to get educated. We're heavy into education. This year's event is going to be held at the Meadow Event Park in the Farm Bureau building there with our friends at Meadow Event Park. It's January 10th and 11th. It's completely indoors. The festival, as I said before, was originally held in a series of tents, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we just simply outgrew Waynesboro and moved to the Meadow Event Park. So now even if it rains or snows, we're inside, and the show has to go on, so we continue to have the festival.
So, okay, in the past, the event has been a Saturday, Sunday, but a change this year, you're going Friday and Saturday. What's the reason for the change?
It's a good idea. Okay, let me back up. Originally, we would have people that come from 30, 40, 50 miles away. If we got somebody from Roanoke, it was a big deal.
Yep.
Well, now The Virginia Fly Fishing Festival, this is our 24th year, has grown so large, we routinely get people from as far away as Syracuse, New York to the north, and Atlanta, Georgia from the south. So people are driving 9.5 hours one way.
Yep.
So we wanted to make it a Friday and Saturday so they could have Sunday to try to have a travel home. We have a lot of our members that want to go to church because we realize we're in the Bible Belt. So we kind of wanted to see, well, what if we do things on Friday and Saturday? We have so many people that travel from out of town. We just thought, hey, let's try to do it Friday and Saturday this year. Both my staff and my wife came to me with this idea independently of each other. So when you have
There was no collusion. I got
right.
you.
Oh, no, there wasn't. They had not talked to each other. And I thought, you know what? I rely a lot on my wife. She's the best decision I've ever made. And she lets me know in no uncertain terms. You know, I joke the first day I was captain. I was a lieutenant for a long time, and I got promoted to captain. The very first day she called me, and I had to concentrate on what I was saying. I would say, good morning, this is, you know, Fire Station 31, Captain Beasley speaking. And my wife said, well, good morning, Captain Beasley. This is Chief Beasley. How are you doing? So she really is my secret weapon to success. But when she and my staff both came to me independently and said, hey, why don't we try to do this on Friday and Saturday and let the vendors be able to travel on a day where there's not as much traffic and they're not leaving it on Sunday night and trying to drive 4 or 5 hours home. So that's what we're going to do. Yep. The festival is going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Meadow Event Park on Friday, and then on Saturday, 9 to 5. The event, it's very simple concept. You pay $20 to get in, and then you go anywhere you want to go. You take any of the free classes, and we have multiple classes that run from the time the festival's open till the time is over, and you just go from class to class to class, any of the open classes that are free that you want to go to. We also have paid specialty classes with people like Tom Rosenbauer, who will be given a class on how to read the water or how to make a correct fly selection. We'll be given a class on advanced tactics for smallmouth. There'll be a class on how to fish hopper droppers. There'll be fly time paid classes. So this allows you to take a class in a small group setting that lasts for 90 minutes, and it's not open to the entire public. Of course, anybody can come take the class that wants to take it. So it's not limited to anyone. The only limitations we would have is if you're going to take my class, which is bourbon and bass bugs, you're going to have to be 21 years old. The first part of the class, we go over my new book that just came out. It's called Badass and Bourbon. So you learn about the men and women in the military that I wrote about. And then the second half of the class you spend with Jason, and he goes over the bourbon from J.H. Bard's, and you get to do a bourbon tasting. So there's all kinds of different combinations. You just go to the website and look at what you want to look at. But people pay $20, and then they go anywhere they want to go, including in all these free classes that you can take. There'll be over 90 vendors, everything from individual guides up to lodges from Alaska, from the Amazon. Our friends with Nomadic Waters, who has be fishing in the Amazon River, will be there. Jim Gephardt with On the Fly magazine, various publications. And you just come there and you say, hey, I want to learn about fishing on the Susquehanna River. Right. So you're going to talk to Brian Shoemaker. Or, hey, I want to meet Colby Troe. I want to know what it's like to fish on Mossy Creek. And you get to meet Colby, or maybe you sit through his class, or you spend time with Tom Rosenbauer, and then you get him to sign his latest book. So it's very, very approachable, and we're there to demystify it and let you take on the sport at your own pace. And we tell people, if you don't know which end of the fly rod to pick up, you've been fly fishing for 20 years and you want to go to the next level, trust me, I've got an instructor for you on that paradigm wherever you are. And then, of course, it doesn't hurt that we have 9 wineries and 3 distilleries, and tastings are included in that $20. So you can't go to the movies for $20 and stay all day and get free popcorn and get to meet the people that are in the movie. But if you come to the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival, you can do all that.
And one of the nice things you have in the layout, you have the rows of different vendors and fly tires, and but you also have 2 casting ponds, so that if you want to take that next step, or you're like, I got this beautiful 5-weight rod, but I want to go for bigger. You have so many vendors there that have different rods. You can just take them right out and check them out and work with, hey, how do I cast this? How do I cast it better? And those types of things. And really, it's total hands-on, which is just fantastic. You don't find that anywhere.
Well, that's the whole idea, is to give you the opportunity. Again, you can watch all the YouTube videos you want to about casting a fly rod. You might even be able to watch a video of Lefty Kreh, who's the best instructor in the world for that kind of thing. But it's not a substitute for getting hands-on instruction. Yeah. And he would be the first one to tell you that. And to put yourself out there and cast that fly rod, and you go, well, hey, maybe I want to try one of these rods from Rise Fishing. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, maybe I want to try out this new Hardy rod. Or, hey, I want to really see that latest vise from Norvise. And you can see it in person and learn from people who know the sport, who want to share their knowledge. Lefty Kreh, the most famous fly fisherman in the world, I happen to be friends with, told me when I explained to him the concept of the festival, and he said, Bo, here's what you need to remember when you're looking for instructors. He said there are only 2 kinds of people in fly fishing, and only 2. The people that show their knowledge and the people that share their knowledge. And you want the latter, and you want to avoid the former like the plague. There's a couple of misnomers. If I ask you, hey, what does average fly angler look like? They would probably describe an English college professor with a tweed jacket smoking, a Sherlock Holmes pipe. But I can assure you there are plenty of young people that fly fish. There are plenty of women. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have women instructors there. Mm-hmm. We have a large women's outreach program thanks to our help and sponsorship from the Take Me Fishing program and also Shank Capital Management, where we bring in women instructors, and it's called Beyond the Cast. It's a symposium that lasts all day on Friday. So they buy a symposium package. They take back-to-back classes taught by women instructors. There are some male instructors too, but the main instructors are women from the USA fly fishing team. Right. Women like Julie Matson and Ashley Wilmot, people that you may not recognize the name, but I can tell you these women can fish circles around me. I wouldn't dare want to try to fish against these women because they're so dang good. Yeah. And they show women, hey, you can do this too. It's not a strength thing. It's a precision. It's a technique thing. And then they come. And this year we've got Jen Ripple, who's the editor of Dunn Magazine, and all kinds of other instructors. Tom Rosenbauer will be giving a class there. We're going to do a class, quite frankly, there's going to be a wine tasting class at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And all that's included, and then they can come back on Saturday and attend the festival all day. But there's a little bit of everything. Again, most people think that fly fishing is about trout, and yes, that is the predominant species, but here in Virginia we have the James River, and you can fly fish for smallmouth. That's my favorite fish to go after. But I tell people about the most fun you can have in your life is to take a size 6 popping bug and go out to a farm pond and catch bluegill the size of your hand. It's just, there's nothing like it.
There is not. So you mentioned a couple things there. First of all, I'm glad you're doing more to be inclusive with women, because that's one of the things that we've been talking about here over the past couple of weeks. I'm part of Virginia Fly Fishers. My friend Rob Thomas.
Absolutely.
We have had in 3 women on this show to discuss women in fly fishing, because unfortunately, Bo, as you know, you've been in this 20, 30 years fly fishing. It's often thought of as, you and me, a white male-dominated sport activity, and it's not. There are so many great anglers out there that are women, and so I think that's awesome. I'm trying to get my wife involved. I'm not successful, but I got my daughter involved. So I got a 50-50 win.
Well, Lefty Kreh said he could teach anybody in the world how to fly cast but his wife, right? so whom he worshiped practically. Right. I would just say, if you've ever thought about fly fishing, and let me be crystal clear here.
Sure.
My first experience with the fly shop was the worst you could possibly think of. I was probably I was 20 years old. I went into a fly shop. I'd just gone to work for the fire department, and I went in with a spinning reel, a traditional reel, and I went into a fly shop, but the name didn't say fly shop. I didn't know enough to know that the name indicated that it was a fly shop. So I walk in with a spinning reel and I say, "Can you help me?" Well, you can imagine, didn't go over really well, right? And to say that I wasn't welcome is an understatement. They did everything but physically assault me, right? It was not a pleasant experience.
Right.
And I left there thinking, well, screw those guys. If that's what fly fishing is, I never want to be associated with that. Well, fast forward 30 years later, I had someone who I ran a rescue call with, Bob Guess, who was the namesake of Mr. Bob's Lucky Day Lures and the most famous popping bug manufacturer probably in the country. He and Walt Carey were very instrumental with me in the fly fishing community. Took me under their wing and they taught me how to fly fish. And man, it changed my life. I can't express to you in words how much fun fly fishing is. Yeah. I can't until you do it. You know, I remember going out with Bob and I caught my first bluegill on a fly rod on Burke Lake in Fairfax County. And I caught it and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was the classic surface water popping bug, and then the bluegill comes up and hammers it, and I was using like a 4 or 3 weight. And you would have thought I had Shamu on the other end of the line, right? And I thought right then, I've never done drugs in my life. I can't imagine you can get any higher on cocaine. Right. I could practically walk on water getting back to the, I'm like, I got to go get a fly rod. I got to learn how to do this. Yep. And Bob went out and bought me my first fly rod at Dance's Sporting Goods in Colonial Heights, which is still open and still sells fly fishing gear. And it was a great experience for me. And to be able to share this with other people is a great experience. We have new people come in all the time, and it's so cool to see people that go, well, I don't know. And then by the end of the day, this timid, 30-year-old mom learns how to cast a fly rod, and dude, she's on it after that.
It's so great.
She's on it and she's good. It's like anything. I don't care if it's casting a fly rod or learning how to sew or being an anchor at a television station or being a meteorologist. Someone has to show you. Someone has to share their knowledge and say, well, Maddie, here's how you need to do this. Or I saw how you did that. Did you think about interviewing the guy this way? Did you think about asking well, no, I never really thought about that. Right. You don't know what you don't know. So just come and experience it. And I tell people, what's the worst? You get there and you go, well, fly fishing's not for me. Well, there's only 9 wineries and 3 distilleries and 1 brewery for you to choose from to find something else to do,
So bring your wife or your significant other, and one can fly fish, one can taste the wine, and we're all happy family.
I tell people, look, you can come and have a beer from Midnight Brewery, right? Midnight Brewing, and have one of Trey's beer and say, well, I don't think I'm going to go fish, let's say, in Alaska, although Wayne McGee and Alaska Trophy Adventures Lodge is there, and I've been there, and I would advise you to go. But maybe instead you sit down and you have a nice stout, and you talk to this guy about becoming a fly tyer, or you just enjoy yourself. Maddie, I don't know about you, but life has gotten so fast. And we're constantly surrounded with computer screens and telephones and Instagram and Facebook and X. There's always something. Our children are so disconnected. They'll be in a room and there'll be 5 kids and they'll all be looking at their phones instead of talking to each other. Fly fishing allows you to get out and connect with another person. And if you're a mom and you'd like to meet another lady who fly fishes, or you want somebody to take you out, this is the place to come. We have women, as God is my witness, we have women coming from us. Last year, I met a woman that came from Scarborough, Maine, because she heard about the festival. She said, hey, I think I'd like to go to this symposium and meet 20 or 30 other women that have the same passion that I do. And it's a place for you to come and just enjoy yourself. So, come out and you can look at the fly tyers, the different manufacturers, the different rod makers, the different fly shops, whether it's, Justin at Precision Flying Tackle out of Pennsylvania, or Colby and Brian Troe with Mossy Creek Fly Shop in Virginia, or my friend Jay at Roanoke Angler, or maybe Shannon Young with Maggie Valley Fly Shop. There's all kinds of options and opportunities to go. Something there will trip your trigger. Something there you will be able to relate to and enjoy yourself.
So speaking of tripping your trigger, so when you were able to lure Bart Lombardo, panfish on the fly, to come, you must have been in heaven because...
Well, actually, I'm proud to say that Pat reached out to us.
Oh, wow.
And said, hey, I'd like to be a part of this. Can I come? Our fly tire section is pretty limited, and it's pretty much by invitation only now because we don't have but so much space.
Right.
But yeah, everything, whether you want to, like I'll give you an example. You mentioned Pat, great tire, does great popping bugs, different patterns. But if you want to learn how to tie deer hair bass bug, this year for the first time, we've got Jeff Rowley and Joe Jackson, aka Sergeant Bass Fisher, and they're going to be teaching a class on, everything you want to know about, the insider's guide to fly tying with deer hair. And these are two of the best deer hair tying bass bug guys in the entire country, and you can come and sit down with a class and learn more from them in 90 minutes than you could probably learn on your own in 6 months. And go, well, what about this? Well, here, let me show you what you do. You think you want to do the thread this way. Look what happens when you reverse it. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Well, yeah, you don't know because you don't know.
Right.
So come and experience it and learn how to tie flies, or learn how to make your cast better, or maybe you want to talk to Matt Miles about fishing on the James River, or maybe you want to, if you're lucky, you can spend 10 or 15 minutes talking to Gary Dubiel about fishing in Oriental on chasing red drum that exceed 38 inches.
It's incredible.
Right? And you're going to catch a red drum that you're like, okay, if I pick this thing up, will the sound go down in size? Because this thing is going to displace a whole lot of water.
It's incredible. I mean, they are such a fun fight too, for sure. You mentioned, you have people from local fisheries, James River, Chesapeake Bay, down into Roanoke, and then western, we're talking Mossy, you got South River, the Delaware, the Susquehanna, as far away as Alaska, the Amazon. I mean, it's anything you can think of. If you're looking to do a trip, an excursion, you have a chance of finding that here at the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival.
Yeah, and a guy might say, or a gal might say, hey, I've fished the James River a lot. I'd like to try something new. Or, I drive over the James River 4 times, 5 times a week. I don't know anything about it. I'd like to go fish here. You mean you can catch catfish in the James River? You can catch crappie? Yeah, you sure can. You can catch largemouth. You can catch carp.
Stripers, shad.
So it's all, stripers and shad. Depending on the time of the year you go, you can fish all over the place. And while there's great fishing in places like Alaska, there's great fishing in the Amazon. You can learn how to fish in your own backyard. And here's the cool thing. The fighting skills that you learn. I was in Alaska at Alaska Trophy Adventures last year. Had a big king salmon on, big king, probably over 20 pounds.
Yeah.
I was casting at one fish. I was fishing for one fish, and I caught a different one that I didn't see. And I set the hook, and guess what? The fish didn't move. And I knew right then, this is a really big fish. Now, why did I know that? Well, because I had been fishing before in North Carolina at the Cape Lookout Albacore Festival, and I had hooked a blacktip shark. And the guy, I looked at him, I set the hook as hard as I could, and the guy looked at me and said, Bo, he's so big, he doesn't know he's caught yet. Yep. So I knew that it was a big fish. Then I finally get the fish on the reel. He's fighting, he's screaming. The guy says, look, we got to get in the boat. We get in the boat, we're chasing the fish down the river, and the guide looks and says, look, you see those braids that are about 100 yards away? If we get to those braids, we're going to lose this fish. I said, okay. So I'm fighting the fish, and then the line starts to go slack because he starts
Start
running
at you.
toward me. So I'm reeling and reeling and reeling. He got close to the boat. He went under the boat, and the guide figured, well, that's it. Well, what did I do? I stuck the rod over as far as I could. I stuck it down in the river, and guess what? The fish cleared. The line went underneath the prop, came out on the other side, and the guide looked at me like, how did you know to do that? I learned that from fishing for false albacore because they do the same thing.
Right.
So what I learned from false albacore and hooking a black-tip shark, I applied to a king salmon. Now, guess what? Do you think I landed the king salmon? Yes, I did.
Of course you
because the things that I learned from the other fisheries, I could apply here. It's the same thing. If you learn how to fight a fish well, whether it's a largemouth or a brown trout, or a rainbow, you can apply that in other places. Just like if you have a job skill, you can apply it on different jobs. And I would just say, if you've always wanted to learn how to fly fish, you don't even know, well, just come try it out. Come spend $20, you can stay all day. And there's so many classes, there's so many opportunities. And you might go, well, you know, I don't want to go out with myself. Great. Well, then come meet my buddy Tim Freeman with Cool Water Outfitters and let him take you out to his fishery and go one-on-one in an environment that's a little more controlled. Yes, they're stocked fish, but they're still hard to catch, right? Just because they're stocked doesn't mean they're dumb, right? And I got news for you. You still have to cast the fly. It still has to have a good drift. And then after the fish bites, you still have to set the hook. And ask me how I know that it's hard to do because I've been out with Tim and missed plenty of fish. But Tim Freeman and the other guys, Matt Miles, these other people, that this is what they do for a living, right? Whether it's Simone or Terry Reed, the guys that are local here, they're willing to impart their knowledge to you. You know, you just need to spend time with them. And I think of my friends here in Richmond Culture, you know.
Current culture.
Current culture. That says it all. Current culture. It's a culture of inclusiveness where we want to take you and share our passion with you, because guess what? It's not just about buying a rod or buying a gear or going on an experience. Once you do that, once you cast the fly and you catch the fish and you bring it in, then guess what? Hey, maybe I need to be doing something to help keep this stream, and maybe I need to think more about conservation. And you'll meet game wardens from the Virginia Department of Game and Fishing. Hey, I've always wanted to know, how long does it take a smallmouth bass to get to be 16 inches? That game warden can tell you. Well, how do you know how old that red drum is? Because they take the otolith, which is the bone beside their ear that they vibrate, that makes the drumming sound that the fish gets its name from. Or, my favorite, hey, why does this wine taste this way? I know that I like for me personally, I like Cabernet Sauvignon. I know that I like it, but I don't know why. Why is it that color? What does it look like? You're going to come there and you're going to meet people from wineries all over from Virginia, and they're not going to tell you just the what. The what is a Cabernet Sauvignon, or the what is a Zinfandel, or it's a Cab Blanc. Sharon Horton is going to explain to you why it tastes the way it does.
And why it resonates with your taste bud that
Correct.
you love
And,
it.
and then what does it go with? Well, this goes great with fish. This goes great with steak, right? This goes with whatever it is you're learning how to cook, or you want to take something out of the field, right? From the field or to the stream, you're going to come there. Jason Bards is going to talk to you about bourbon and why it tastes the way it does. All bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. So you learn how it's made and why it tastes the way it does. People come and they want to learn, and we're all about sharing our experiences. Bowman Brothers will be there this year. You can talk to my friends from Bowman Brothers about their small batch. You know, you can talk to Ashley Wynn from Wynn Vineyards. You can meet these people and say, hey, well, I know why I like it, but I don't know why. Can you explain to me, well, how come this grape only grows here? And you're going to find out that our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, was the first one that tried to really bring in grapes and make wine. you might or may not find out that George Washington had a still that's still in operation not far from his place, in Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a fun, engaging, unique thing to do. We have people contact us all the time. I don't want to brag, but I have states almost every year that reach out to me and go, hey, if you ever think about going to a different state, would you consider coming to X? Would you consider coming here? And I have people, other event organizers call me, Trout Unlimited groups that are putting on events. Hey, we're kind of running into a problem here. Have you got any advice or about this or about that? And we're all about sharing our knowledge. And for us, it's not just a commercial event. I know Mike Smith with New River Fly Fishing. I've fished with him many times. I know the people that are there, the men and women. I know the women that volunteer in Casting for Recovery. I know the people that are going to be there from Rise Fishing.
Yep.
I know them. It's not just, it's this guy selling this stuff.
Right.
I know Tim
You got
Freeman,
the personal relationship.
right? I know Justin Pittman, who runs Precision Flying Tackle. And these men and women are fanatics about their sport, and they want to share it. You're going to come there and learn why Trout Unlimited does what it does. What are they doing to improve the fishery? Now, some people might go, Trout Unlimited, they only care about trout. Well, first, it's in their name. But I can tell you they're doing great work on the James River. They're doing recovery way upstream. Why? Because what happens upstream affects the downstream, right?
Always, yep.
And you may be overwhelmed with today's world of, this is happening and that's happening. Oh my gosh, climate change and the planet's going to burn up or whatever. You can take all kinds of different positions. What you can't argue about is planting a tree beside the river helps keep the river cool. Helping that farmer put up a fence that keeps his cattle out of the river helps the farmer, helps the water, and helps us. We need to be helping our farmers. Mm-hmm. We need to be helping our ranchers. We need to be helping the people that have the orchards work collaboratively and get on the same stream, because guess what? Everybody wants clean water. Nobody says, you know what I really want to do is I really want to screw up my local river. That's what I want to do. Nobody wants to do that. Not the chicken farmer, nobody wants to do that on purpose. We need to get on the same page. And I tell people, as far as conservation goes, I was being interviewed the other day about some of the conflicting interests. You have a coal company, and you have Trout Unlimited, and you have a farmer, and you have all these different vying interests. And I said, listen, here's the way you need to think about this. Conservation is like a wreck. Mm-hmm. Now, what do I mean? Well, what do you mean it's like a wreck? Look, when the fire department shows up, you got somebody trapped in the car, you have a local police or a state trooper or a deputy. You've got the fire department there, and you've got EMS workers. Nobody runs up. No one runs up and says, I'm in charge, I'm in charge. It's not who's in charge. It's who's in charge of what. The rescue people there are there to do the rescue. The fire people are there to protect the scene. The police are there to protect us and to maintain order. It's not who's in charge. It's who's in charge of what. Right. And we help each other, because those police officers know if they get hurt, we're going to do everything we can. Mm-hmm. And I have been on scenes where police officers have been shot.
Sure.
They know we're going to go through hell or high water to do what we need to do. Right. So we need to collaboratively come together and see how can we meld business interest and commercial interest and conservation. My friend Trey, who runs Midnight Brewing, do you think he wants good water or not?
All day.
Good water makes for good beer.
Right.
Now, I personally am not willing to take Trey's word for it, so I have to test the beer. I'm not willing to take his word for it. I'm forced.
Now, is that a 4-ounce test or an 8-ounce test?
Well, it depends on how much you want to test. And I really believe that, Bowman Brothers needs some help testing their bourbon.
Yeah.
And here's the hard thing for me.
Barbie,
as the festival director, I am forced to test this stuff.
You got to make sure
I
it's
can't
good.
let the public be
Right,
exposed
you have
to
20, 30,000 people coming through.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing to keep in mind. There are 9 wineries, and most of the wineries have 6 or 7 different wines. We'll do the math.
That's good. The long days for you.
It is.
You can taste a couple every half hour.
And let me say that I have a phenomenal staff. All of my staff consist of former military. My right-hand man is called Marty Laxberg. He was a sergeant, multiple tour combat Marine.
Right.
The next person that really helps me a great deal is Larry Braswell. He worked for the same fire department I did. Bubba Holt is probably the smartest person I've ever met and knows more about trout fishing in West Virginia, or trout fishing in general, than any other human being I know alive. So all of my volunteers or staff are either cops or firemen or former federal agents, and we watch the watchers, right? We are super strict on alcohol.
Yep.
I mean, we don't play because we're on the receiving end. We know what it's like when somebody's had one too many and goes off the road. And I'm not going to be a part of that.
Sure.
Right? And we love dealing with the people. I want to give a special shout out to our friends at the Meadow Event Park. They are a phenomenal team to work with. And it's a team effort. You can't put on an event this large and not have everybody rowing in the same direction. We get support from, like I said, Schenck Capital Management and Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, their Take Me Fishing program for our Women's Symposium. We get great help from Harmon's Cabins. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone with Todd Harmon this morning. They have a fantastic place in Cabins, West Virginia that I go to multiple times a year. We have help from Norvice, who Tim O'Neill is obsessed with teaching people how to fly fish. I mean, this guy his mind never stops. Every time I talk to him, he's trying to come up with something new. And then, of course, I mentioned our friends at Midnight Brewing. And, we just want to encourage everybody to come out, to learn about Trout Unlimited, to learn about, hey, I want to learn how to tie a fly, or I want to learn how to cast a fly rod, or I want to meet a custom rod maker. I want to talk to Kobe at Rise Fishing, right? He's making these custom rods out of New York. I want to talk to him about it.
Yep.
And you can talk to the people who actually make the products, and you can say to them, for example, hey, I want to go false albacore fishing. Okay, what you're going to need is maybe a fast action 9-weight. And all that kind of stuff goes over your head. What's a 9-weight? What's a 6-weight? What's a 22? What kind of gate? What is this? So it's got its own language, and it can be overwhelming at first. Just come, experience it, and let us teach you and share the passion that we have for fly fishing.
Well, let's get into how we can come, because we know it is open on January 10th and 11th over at Doswell at the Meadow Event Park. You can find out more at vaflyfishingfestival.com, or you can scan the QR code. Again, the change this year is the fact that it is a Friday and Saturday event, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, Saturday 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So many vendors there, so many different wines, bourbons, one beer, and just
one brewery, multiple beers, but one brewery. Yeah,
but overall, a tremendous amount of fun.
Yeah, and listen, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Trailhead Creative. James Moffitt does a fantastic job. You can follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. You can go to the festival website, www.vaflyfishingfestival.com or .org. Just go to the website, and you can sign up for our newsletters and get the updates, because the paid classes are limited. Once we get to a certain amount, we cut it off, because we want to make sure you can get the experience that you want. But just come and experience. It can be a little overwhelming, but I don't want to sound arrogant, but I want to say to you, why do you think people are coming from Syracuse, New York? Why are people driving from as far away as Georgia and Ohio? Because it's unique and it's fun. And people, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Yes. I mean, I find sometimes I just scratch my head and I go, how did I get here? because I went from going into a fly shop where they literally kicked me out to now, 35 years later, I've written 3 books about fly fishing, and I run one of the largest fly fishing events in the nation. And I knew nothing. Everything I learned the hard way. I'll tell a little story on myself. I told you before that Bob Guest taught me how to fly fish. And he made custom-made popping bugs. So all you know is what you know. So I'm on the Rappahannock River in April fishing for shad with a popping bug. You're not going to catch
many shad at all.
Right? Nothing. You may accidentally hang a blueback herring by accident, right? And I'm out there and I'm catching butkus, right? Nothing. This guy walks up to me and he can see that I'm using a popping bug, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm out here fishing for shad." And he goes, "Oh, well, you might want to try one of these." And he probably gave me something like a Tommy's Torpedo.
Right.
My buddy Tommy Mattioli makes custom flies. His Tommy's Torpedo is devastating on shad. They're awesome. You can buy them by the handfuls at places like Green Top. But he gave me a shad fly, and he said, "Listen, here's what you want to use. I'm going to give you a couple because you might get hung up, and you're going to you need to wait and let it sink some, and then bring it in slowly. And if you get a couple of taps and you don't hook up, you probably need to go to a smaller hook size. They can't get their mouth around it." Oh, okay. Dude, one after another.
It
then
was
I'm
like lights on.
hammering. After that, it's like I caught fish till I got tired. But I didn't know until somebody showed me. Right. And when they said, "Hey," and he didn't say to me, "Hey, those flies are $3 a piece. I gave you 4 of them. I want $12." No, he said, "Look, here.
It's the share versus the show."
That's exactly right. And it changed. So now every year I go down to the Rappahannock River in Fredericksburg, and, the shad come up there so thick it blacks out the bottom of the river. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And I would just encourage you to come out, talk to the exhibitors, talk to the fly tyers, talk to your local game warden, enjoy yourself while you're at the Meadow Event Park. They're fantastic people. We're in the State Farm building there. I can't say enough good about that venue and how they work with us. And again, you can get all the information you want by going to our website. You can order tickets in advance. You can buy tickets at the door. I would only say to you that the classes tend to sell out in advance because it's limited, whether it's beginner casting class or maybe you want to take a specialty class. We have one class this year we're offering on Sunday. It's after the festival's over. It's a 7-hour class put on by Alan Roop, and it's a class on how to tie crayfish. And it's held at the Fairfield Inn. But you can order these tickets in advance. And I would say, hey, if you want to buy, you don't want to buy your admission tickets, maybe, or maybe you do. Maybe you want to get a weekend pass. The paid classes sell out well in advance. So don't think you're going to show up Friday morning at 10:30 and say, hey, I want to get into Tom Rosenbauer's class at 1 o'clock. It ain't happening, right? So you need to order those specialty classes in advance, whether it's, the class I'll be teaching, Badass and Bourbon, or Wine and Woolly Boogers, where you're going to spend some time with Bubba, and he's going to go over 6 trout flies, and then you take the trout flies home with you end of the day, and then do a wine tasting with Sharon Horton the second half of the class. It's just fun. Just come out, and it's something you can bring your whole family to. If your children are 16 and under, they all get in for free. So I don't care if it's you and your wife and 5 kids. They're all getting in for free because we want to make this a family environment. It's very much a family environment, and it's so much fun. It doesn't have to be intimidating. Come and learn from people that want to share their love of the sport with you.
Bo, once again, you've been excellent on our show. I appreciate all of your time. And I look forward to seeing you this year.
Thank you so much, Matty. I look forward to being there, and people can get all the information about the festival off the website. Yeah. And thank you so much. We want to thank the people here at the station for having us here, and invite our listeners in your Richmond audience and beyond to come to this year's Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival, January 10th and 11th at the Meadow Event Park.
And they will be there for sure. Thanks again, Bo.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D.